Hi everybody, Joe Vizio here. Kind of got a lot to talk about in a short period of time. Hopefully I can start taking the page from Sue's journey and just kind of keep them to a dull roar and right to the point. So I'm here, obviously I got something to say. As I've said before, and as the cancer doctor, my friend, had told me, things are going to happen a lot faster, and that is exactly what is going on. Things are happening pretty fast. My mother is now living with me. I know. I really had no choice but to step up and do this. Anything, you've ever heard about state facilities and shit like that, they just really don't exist. Or if they do exist, I mean, you have to be like eating dirt poor to be able to get into one. My mother pulls in about $900 a month in Social Security, so as far as the state is concerned, she's a wealthy woman. Her co-pays and things like that are really eating up all of her money anyway, so my mother was pretty much getting into a position to where she was going to be homeless. And we see how well the world, our country, takes care of its homeless. I mean, they don't even take care of their homeless vets. So I had to step up. I had to step up and do this, but there are some ground rules that are in effect with this. A lot of ground rules to be able to protect my wife and myself. She's not allowed to eat anywhere except for in the kitchen. She's got to have daily room cleaning. She's got to shower daily, meaning we have to physically see her get into the shower. And she agrees to everything because she has no choice. And one of the biggest stipulations is that once we get down to where we know the end is upon us, she has to go to the hospice care. Her doctor, as a part of her staying with us, because he knew how critical this was, he's got everything arranged already to where she will have live-in hospice care, because I still don't want my daughter to see this. I did sit down with my daughter and I had probably one of the hardest talks I've ever had to have with her so far. She's 5 years old. And I had to really explain to her what cancer is, and that her grandmother is eventually going to pass away. And she's not stupid either. She can see what's going on, and she's even been asking some questions herself. So that's where we stand with that there. Last video I made, I had said that my mother had the 1 round of chemotherapy. And that was on a Thursday. On Sunday is when I made the video. We actually ended up having to 911 her over to the hospital. And I think I may have mentioned this in the video. She, had some little touch of pneumonia. And after that, she went into rehab for about a week. And now she's at my house. Me and my wife actually gave up our master bedroom. We kind of turned it into kind of a makeshift hospital room. And I know I'm going back on my word, but you kind of don't understand until you're in that position. So, I'm in that position. I don't want to talk about anybody else's business on here, usually unless I have permission. But I gotta kind of set this up a little bit. We were at my mother's doctor's appointment, and there was a lady in there with her family. And just long story short, she seems like she's in the same position I am, where she is the caregiver for her parent. And I don't know the history or anything like that, but I can say that this poor lady was having a lot of trouble. And it was just reminiscent to what a lot of us have gone through with our own parents, especially if you're caring for a sick parent. So when I seen what was going on, it immediately was breaking my heart, because I was in that position. And of course, my mother's sitting there sucking on her teeth, and because my mother doesn't understand. My mother's one of them. So I went up to the counter and I asked the nurse for a piece of paper, and I wrote her a little note. I just told her, you're not alone, I understand. And I just briefly, gave her a couple keywords to be able to find this channel. And, and I told her, sometimes it's helpful to hear other people's stories. And I assume she subscribed. I do have an extra subscriber on there. And this is, all nameless. But, if you're there, welcome. I do hope that you can relate to some of this. But, so I had said something to my mother when she was sitting there sucking her teeth. And I said to her, I said, Mom, I said, do you remember the struggles that you were having when you were in your 20s and 30s, having to take care of your bills and your house and then your kids and everything like that? So do you remember how hard it was? And she says yes. Of course she has to say yes. My mother pretty much gave me over to my abusive father because she couldn't handle that type of pressure. Pressure that a lot of us just handle. This lady had 2 children with her. I know they were plenty embarrassed by what they were saying. And I'm just like, Mom, okay, so you understand what it's like to struggle, what it's like to maintain your family in the world that you came from. I said, now imagine if you had to take care of your parents. Can you imagine that, Mom? Can you imagine if your mother and father were sick and incapacitated and you had to take care of them on top of everything else? Oh, well, I never thought of that. I would have done it, though. Oh, really? How would you have done it? You couldn't take care of your kids. How would you have done it? And I wasn't trying to make her feel bad, but she needed to feel bad. She needed to understand what people like myself, what people like you out there go through. We not only have to be responsible for ourselves, but we have to be responsible for our parents. And if your parent is from the cluster B family, the narcissism, the borderline, the histrionic, anything like that, maybe they're going through some kind of a dementia or a schizophrenia or something like that, you still have to be responsible for all this. And nobody understands unless you are in our shoes. My daughter is visiting me from Montana. I had a couple days with her, and it's really not much time considering what my work schedule is. Today, we went out to lunch over at the barbecue joint, and when I came home, I had a fire truck sitting out in front of my house. My mother felt dizzy. She said she fell. She called 911. The neighbors, bless their heart, they're concerned, so they're asking questions. Is there anything that they can do to be able to help out or anything like that? This is a reality. This is what I'm going through. I couldn't just leave my mother stay in that little apartment that she was in. Number one, with all of her co-pays and stuff like that she has to pay, she cannot afford to rent. She cannot afford to rent. Like I said, she gets $900 in disability money. It's like $1,000 in disability money, but they take like $125 to pay for her insurance. So she's really left with like $875 a month. And her rent over at her apartment was $450. Because you can't touch shit here in Florida. They are just, it is so expensive to live here. And number two, that apartment was so roach infested. I just, as a human being, I couldn't leave her there. I could not leave her there. And I knew we, had a little bit of a bug problem, but I never knew. This is an old Florida house. It's probably a good 70-year-old Florida home, man. Florida is like the bug capital of the world. Well, I think maybe Australia has this. When she was complaining to me, saying that she can't sleep because roaches are crawling on her, I couldn't leave her there. So, my mother's back with me. From her first round of chemotherapy, she's already lost her hair. I mean, she has a little bit up on there now. My wife tried to trim it up for her to even it out, but her hair is falling out in clumps. And I can only imagine. So here's a little bit of irony for you. As my mother sat there in her chair crying because her hair is falling out. It's really hitting her. I don't know if you ever remember the videos I have with my kind of gray looking do-rag. I went and I got my do-rag, my favorite do-rag, and I tied it on my mother's head. And I said, "You see that, Ma?" I said, "You have yourself an official Joe Vizio trademark hairpiece." It's as ironic that here's Joe Vizio helping my mother out, huh? I actually got that hairpiece in the cancer place that I cleaned. And when I picked that thing up, when I picked up the wigs, when I picked up the styrofoam heads, because they were throwing it all out, and in my garage collection, I like to put hats on the styrofoam heads with the wigs on. Every time I wrap that do-rag around my head, I never in my life thought that I was going to one day need to put that on my mother. It's kind of funny how things come around, huh? I don't know, man. So, that's the state that I'm in. And I know there's a lot of people out there that can relate to this. I not only see your videos, but occasionally I physically run into you on the street. And if that person is watching, if they see this video, you know, I kept everything anonymous. I really hope that you don't mind me briefly discussing that situation. Nobody knows who you are. But that kind of information is going to help out a lot of people, because there's many of us out there that go through the same exact thing that you are going through. And when we can connect with each other, when we can hear each other's stories, it's comforting, because we know that we're not alone. So that's all I got for you for now. You know, as I said, the things are happening pretty fast, so, you know, I might get on here and, you know, pop off a video a little sooner than what I said, because it's really starting to dig into me. I still don't really want to get back into my past and what has happened to me. We'll save some things like that for a later date. But, you know, for now, I think I need to air out some things that are going on right in front of me. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I always flash my peace sign to you because I hope that you do find peace. So, thanks.